What is going on, Odds Squad? It's the crew on Odds HQ and Odds.com. I got my man, MMA prediction guru, MMA lock of the night, and Cody Saftik in the building. I'm Bleed, your host. Let's throw it to the guys before we crack into this, the final weigh-in on Odds HQ. UFC 256, man, a serious card. Guru, how you doing?
Yeah, man. I'm excited about this card. It's last pay-per-view of the year. I mean, next week's card is pretty sick too, but I mean, we saw this card kind of get, a lot of fights get taken off. But it's still pretty good. I mean, Tony's one of my favorite fighters, so whenever he fights, I'm always excited for it. And there's a lot of other good fights on the card too, so should be a good night.
Yeah, I'm totally stoked. I can't wait. We did, man. We lost more fights on this card than I think we have left on the card. But, man, for losing so many fights, we actually have a very, very solid card, and I'm very excited. Lock of the night. Let them know.
What's going on, dude? I'm happy to be back as always. Great card, especially whenever you got Tony Ferguson in the Coleman event. You know it's going to be a barn burner. And then you got Dope Bronx opposite of him. This fight is just going to be absolutely amazing. There's so many other great fights on this card. Last week was a great event too. You know what I mean? Shout out my man Jay Collier for coming through for your boy. Ooh. I know CJ Saftik is loving that one. But yeah, it was a great event last week. I hope to replicate that this week around. So let's do it. Let's get down to it.
Absolutely. And my man, Cody Saftik, what's up on this Friday night?
Yeah, obviously we don't have enough fat Caucasian males on there so that my boy Locke would just come in and let you know what's up. But yeah, still good, a little offering from the UFC. It is a pay-per-view, so hopefully we can sweeten that pot by making you some money and making that pay-per-view free of charge. As far as the main card goes, pretty solid. And hopefully, fingers crossed, nothing else falls out and we can keep it together.
Oh, boy, I hope so. We've lost a few on our fight day early on. Let's not put that juju on this card at all. So let's get it going. We got Chase Hooper going up against Peter Barrett. Locke, why don't you get us going tonight?
Yeah, this one's a weird one. We know that Chase Hooper last time around obviously lost to Alex Caceres, and that was a fight where we really got to find out where about Chase Hooper is in his career. Yeah, he had that win over David Taymor, but we know David Taymor is the shittier brother. Let's be honest, right? Then he had that developmental deal, obviously, with Island Fights, and he made his rounds on that regional circuit after the Contender Series. But we still see some flaws in his game. Like the kid still looking like he's filling out in his body. He's still super young. I truly think he's going to eventually move to lightweight. It's just a matter of time. He's got to start putting on muscle. He's got to start putting on a little bit more weight to really start to build up that strength too. And it's something that I always touch on whenever I break down a Chase Hooper fight. Is if you go back and watch most of his fights, like it's not normally the first or second submission that he throws up on his opponents, because those ones that he gets, yeah, they look deep and all that, but his opponents are able to just muscle their way out of it and just kind of pull his hands apart or whatever type of submission he has. They're always able to get out of it, but eventually he gets onto something and eventually he gets a sub. Last time around though, Bruce Leroy just pieces him up and makes it look pretty ugly too. We almost got a finish from Alex Caceres there too, so that was very concerning. Not something we normally get out of Alex Caceres as well too. Now he's going up against Pete Barrett, who probably doesn't deserve to be in the UFC. He had a great Dana White Contender Series fight, you know what I mean? And maybe the fact that it was a very entertaining fight got him into the UFC, but let's be honest, we've seen much better performances from fighters, and they didn't end up getting the contract. So I find that to be a little bit fishy there. Peter Barrett obviously loses to Yusuf Zalal, but you can almost call it a W since he didn't get finished by Yusuf Zalal. I know a lot of people that were on Zalal inside the distance in that fight, and they were kicking themselves afterwards. And, that might build up the resiliency and durability of Barrett here, but I still think that Chase Hooper lands that submission, man. I know Zalal is great all around too. I feel like Hooper's a step above when it comes to the jiu-jitsu realm since he's been doing it since he's pretty much been a kid. So I think at a certain point he locks it up on Peter Barrett. With that said, minus 335 for this kid right now, or minus 250, whatever he's at, I'm not in. I'm just going to sit back and watch this fight, see this kid continuously grow, and see what he eventually turns into. But this is a great rebound fight for him. If you want to, throw one up for him, give him a layup, this is probably the fight for him here. But all in all, I'm just staying away from this fight. I'm going with Chase Hooper by sub, but in terms of any degenerate plays or anything like that, I'm staying far away.
Man, I tell you what, exactly how I'm seeing it. Cody Saftik, how are you seeing it?
Yeah, so I don't really want to bet Chase Hooper at a 3-1 price tag because we all see how this guy could let you down. I mean, my boy Guru was telling us right before the show started that he just finished his classes today. To me, that's like, dude, that's badass. That's a huge step forward in life. Imagine he was like, yeah, dude, I just finished camp for a UFC, made weight today. It's just like, dude, like Chase Hooper doing what he's doing, that's already something crazy. So they got to match him really soft. Giving him Bruce Leroy, geez, that's a 23-time UFC veteran. That's somebody that's fought on The Ultimate Fighter. He's been around a long time. He's fought some of the top guys in the sport. Slippery Pete has at least a winnable fight for him, but I don't trust him at a 3-1 price tag. What I am looking at is the fight completes 1 round, or you can look at the 1.5, but I'm looking at the fight completes 1 round. Pete at least showed against Zalal that he's durable enough. I mean, he's called Slippery Pete for a reason. Everyone at Lowe's on MMA says, as far as a training partner goes, you know, he's tough, he's slick, he's tough to get subbed. He has been submitted in his pro career. But again, I mean, he's 34 years old. He's got that natural man strength over this young kid. And whereas Hooper probably does take the back at some point and probably does, maybe sinks in the choke, I could also see him just taking the back repeatedly, like a Uriah Hall, Artem Lobov kind of game plan. You know, it's like, I'll just backpack you and win these rounds. Like, it doesn't really matter. I don't have to out wrestle you to get you to the ground. I'll just create a scramble, get the fight to where I want it, and beat him in the grappling department. But I don't want to bet Hooper at 3-1. And I'm not looking for that underdog shot on Pete Barrett, I don't think. So fight completes 1 round is minus 185. It's a better price tag than betting Hooper straight up. If Hooper does win this fight, does he go out there and blow out Peter Barrett? No, I don't think so. Again, you go back to the Zalal fight, and Zalal's not a finisher. So I'm not saying Yusuf Zalal ices everybody and Pete Barrett survived to tell the tale. No. He is a decision guy. I get that. But Pete gave up his back. Pete had both hooks in, and this guy's fishing for the rear naked, and he fought it off. Being at a Lowe's on MMA and having Joe on you every day, you know, being Boston strong, one of these tough Massachusetts guy, get 1 round out. And then after that, who knows? Maybe he gets subbed in the second, maybe eventually in the 3rd round, Slippery Pete slips up. But I think that instead of betting Hooper, I don't want to bet bank on Hooper again. Like, he's just, that last fight with Bruce Leroy, it's not like, oh, he let me down, because we should have saw it coming. We really should have. But in hindsight, it's like, he's not a great striker. He's not a great wrestler. And as far as his grappling, is he a Mackenzie Dern? Is he a former ADCC champion? Is he Ronnie Yaya? No. Just some 21-year-old kid. I think he did win an IBJJF gi championship. But still, you know, I mean, fight completes 1 round. That's my bet on this one.
Gotcha. Guru, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, I mean, they broke it down betting wise. I mean, I don't think anyone could trust, Chase Hooper, like almost minus 400 favorite. But I do think, potentially Pete Barrett, I think one of the ways he could win is a 1st round knockout. I mean, I think if he just comes out super hot, high energy, because Chase Hooper, like you said, he could come out kind of not flat, but he just doesn't have the same type of physicality. So if Barrett comes out super intense, and really throws for the fences, who knows? I mean, maybe he could get a knockout, land a knee, do something. But I feel like Chase Hooper, I mean, he showed at least toughness in his last fight. He kept coming forward, good cardio. So unless Peter Barrett just knocks him out, I do think that he'll probably eventually be able to get him down, start backpacking him. I think Barrett probably will come out real hard. So I could see him getting a little bit tired too, especially if Chase can start getting takedowns and, advancing position, stuff like that. So I'm not sure if he'll get a submission, but I mean, I've seen Peter Barrett get submitted by some pretty low-level guys, he's gotten taken down pretty easily. That even on the Contender Series, he was getting taken down, pretty easily, and I don't really rate that guy that he was fighting on the Contender Series. So I feel like Cooper should get it done. He's beaten some decent competition, he beat Luis Gomez, who fought on a Contender Series, beat Sadiq Youssef, and so I feel like he's beaten the level of Peter Barrett already, so he should probably get the win here. But yeah, I can't trust it betting wise, and I don't really want to bet on Peter Barrett either. So
yeah, I don't blame you there. So I'm gonna take the kid too. I got Hooper in this one, but you guys said it all, man. There's some serious problems with this kid. Stand up, virtually non-existent. Guru, like you said, man, I would not be surprised if Peter Barrett went in there and knocked this kid out. If this fight stays standing, I have to think it's advantage Peter Barrett, because I just don't see anything from Hooper that screams any danger at all on the feet. Now the fight goes to the mat. Yeah, man, you got to think Hooper's going to maybe find the sub, if not hold the position. But, man, I'm having a real tough time getting a read on this. All I know is that Chase Hooper, a minus 400 to minus 300 range, is just way, way too crazy. There's a lot of other guys in that range that I actually have that level of confidence in, but Chase Hooper's not one of them. I'm going to pick Hooper to win, but I don't know if I'll have my money involved in this fight in any way at all. So, next fight of the night, we got a short notice replacement. We got Tecia Torres going in there against Sam Hughes. Cody Saftik, why don't you get us going here?
Yeah, okay, so I don't know if it's a trap, but I mean, everyone's kind of thinking the same thing, which is Tecia Torres by decision. And it's no offense to Sam Hughes, but Tecia Torres is just one of those people that if you're going to give her the top contender in the division, she's going to lose. If you give her the champion, she's going to lose. If you give her anybody that's in that top 3, 5, 7, she's going to lose. And decisions, she's very, very durable. But when she wins, it's also decisions. And what we see in that Van Buren fight is if you give her that step down in competition, if you give her a green fighter, if you give her somebody that does have holes in their game, she's going to exploit them. And she looked really good in that fight. Now, I was one of those people that looked at the Van Buren and thought, geez, you know what? Technically, she's pretty sound. Her boxing's pretty good. She looks big, physically strong for the division. Wrestling's come a long way. She won that one night Invicta tournament, looked strong throughout. I bought into the hype. But Tecia is who she is, an excellent gatekeeper. But even when she goes and puts this beating on them, and by the way, she put a beating on Van Buren, she just doesn't have that stopping power. Just has one submission victory over Juliana Lima, and that's in her entire pro career. So when she's fighting Joanne and Jacek, when she's fighting Jessica Andrade, when she's fighting Weili Zhang, she can't find a hole in the game because there's just so few and far between for world-class champions like that. But for people that are on their way up, I mean, it's like it should be easy pickings for her. She's still in the prime of her career. She's still getting a lot better. She always shows up in excellent shape. And with Sam Hughes, it's no discredit to her, but she literally turned professional last year, 2019, February 2019. As far as how she looks, it's been limited competition. Like everyone keeps talking about the Vanessa Demopoulos fight. And geez, she's winning that fight. She looks good through the first 2 rounds. 3rd round, okay. 4th round fight hits the ground. She gets caught with the inverted triangle. But you guys know Vanessa Demopoulos. She's the worst striker you've ever seen and has absolutely no wrestling. Former stripper. Low-key pretty hot too. But winning rounds against her is just like, it's not Tecia Torres. She's in and out and she's going to be bopping. But one thing about Sam Hughes is she seems tough. She's willing. She's tough. This is a huge spot for her. She's taking on a ranked contender like Tecia Torres, who's fought a who's who. So I think you go with fight goes the distance, but that's not a great price. You go with Tecia Torres by decision. Money's coming that way. I see now. It was 175 earlier in the week. And I have seen a couple theories been out there that's like, you know what? Ticia's striking still evolving and she's got some power and she might be able to go out there and just put a beating on Hughes and put her away. But again, I think Hughes is tough enough that at this weight class, women's MMA, if it's not a submission from guard, an armbar from guard, which I don't think Tecia Torres is going to get, the knockouts, they're few and far between. So, yeah, I got to go with Tecia Torres. Like, this is an underdog pick I would have no interest in whatsoever. And as far as trying to chase a little extra value instead of just betting Torres straight up, I'm chasing that Torres by decision.
There you go. Guru, spit that hot fire.
Yeah, man, I agree. I mean, Sam Hughes, to me, watched a few of her fights, and she's just kind of like a grinder, like boxer, wrestler, but she doesn't really have great top control. She seems like she has decent head movement, and, you know, we'll get inside. She's going to have a size advantage, but I just think Ticia's way faster. She has, you know, all that experience. I don't think Hughes will be able to take her down, and if she does early on, I don't think she's going to control her much at all. So, I mean, Ticia's just way better, but at minus 500, whatever it is, I'm not even looking at that as like a parlay piece or anything. But like you said, by decision is probably what's going to happen. So it's not bad value there. So I got to go with, I got to go with Tecia Torres, though.
Makes sense to me. Lock of the night. Who do you got?
Yeah, no, I've been a Tiny Tornado fan for a long time now. She always shows like peaks of like top level talent. Like she is good all around. She has a great all around game. She has good takedowns. She has good striking. She's strong. She moves very quickly as well too. And it shows you the confidence that the UFC has in her, keeping her around even after 4 straight losses. It's not often that you see a fighter still in the UFC after 3 straight losses. She got 4. And she's still in the UFC. But luckily for her, she turns it around against Brianna Van Buren and goes out there and gets a solid victory as a solid underdog, too. A lot of people are writing her off in that fight. But honestly, I feel like Sam Hughes is a very poor woman's version of Tecia Torres. Like, she's good all around, but she's still relatively new, so she's still kind of green. But she shows decent striking. She shows decent ability to, like, mix in her takedowns with her striking. She seems strong as well, too. But that's the difference, though. I think that Tecia Torres, she has all those things, but just better with more experience. She's been around the game a much longer, like Cody touched on. Sam Hughes just turned pro last year, so there's a lot of like small things that add up to something huge here with Tecia Torres, which is why she's like such a heavy favorite here. Obviously, in this fight, we know that Tecia Torres doesn't really like going for the finish or getting a finish or anything like that. The only person she's ever finished was Juliana Lima. That was over 3 years ago now, close to 3.5 years ago. But she's very durable. She goes out there and just soundly beats her opponents whenever she gets the W. And I'm expecting the same thing here against Sam Hughes. So I wouldn't mind Tecia Torres, honestly. Like, it's chalky as hell Don't get me wrong, minus 570 is very chalky. I wouldn't mind her as a small little parlay piece if you want to just sprinkle a little bit of cherry on top of any of your parlays there. But I think she's a safe spot. The over 2.5, even minus 300, minus 313. Yeah, heavy chalk, heavy juice, but I don't see either woman getting a finish here. So either way, I'm going with Tecia Torres. She takes this fight by decision. Minus 175, a little bit juicier than I like for a decision prop. But still, I think that's a solid spot here. Cody referred to it as a possible trap spot. I think history tells us that she likes going to the decision. She doesn't really go for the knockout much or anything like that. So yeah, I like Torres here by decision.
Yep. Well, I tell you what, I'm riding with you guys too. I got Torres. She's a decisionator. I'm going to take her by decision. Sam Hughes, Sam Page. I watched the tape on her. I was actually saying to myself, for this being such a short notice, kind of we need a body in there to get Tecia, get this fight happening. I thought she looked all right. You know what I mean? At the same time, though, stylistically speaking, I just see Tecia being the faster, far more output. We touched on Tecia. She's not overly dangerous. I think Tecia Torres wins this fight by decision. Feel pretty good about it. So Sam Hughes, man, I think she's going to be okay in the UFC. I think she'll probably win some fights. But, man, so many red flags, so green, coming in on not even a full week's notice. There's just a lot to overcome in this spot against Tecia Torres, who honestly, you look at her losses, it's champions and former champions and title challengers, and I just don't think Sam Hughes is at that level yet. So here's a very interesting fight, you guys. One that I really want to hear you guys' input on. We got Billy Quarantillo, Billy Q, going up against Gavin Tucker. Guru, can you get us going here?
Yeah, man, this fight, like you said, super interesting because I do feel like Billy Q, he's like one of these guys that always is losing and then comes back. And Tucker is going to be the better athlete here. So I think early on the first round, Tucker maybe has to go for it because Billy Q's just one of these guys, man, that he can make the fight ugly real hard, get in the clinch at high pace and just dogs these guys out. So I just feel like after the first round, the fight's going to sway into favor of Billy Q. I don't think that Tucker is going to be able to, hit takedowns and control on top after the first round. Maybe he will early on, but I just see, Billy Q pressuring, attacking the body, getting in the clinch, that single collar, dirty boxing, hanging on Tucker a little bit. He's going to be, a few inches taller as well. He's going to have reach advantage. So I think that he's going to be able to use that. But, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked either if Tucker's able to use his quickness and get a few takedowns, control on top, because we've seen, Billy Q taken down by guys that aren't that good. He gives up his back and he does give up a lot of dominant positions. So, Tucker, I think, is a live dog, but he's like 34 years old. He's, I don't think that his last fight against Justin James, I don't really think that's a super high level win, even though he looked pretty good there. I do think this is a pretty big step up. So I just think that, early on, Tucker might look pretty good, but I think that Billy Q will be able to, drag him into deep waters. And he might even, be the first guy to finish Gavin Tucker here.
I like it. Lock of the night. Let us know.
Yeah, this I'd say this is the fight that I'm looking forward to second most behind Tony Ferguson and Charles Oliveira. Great fight. Stylistically, they match up very, very well. Now, I think that this is the toughest opponent to date for Billy Quarantillo. I think technically, speed-wise, even the wrestling, I think that Tucker has the edge here. Jiu-jitsu, I think it's a little bit, they kind of nullify each other. I'd give the slight edge to Billy Q, if anything, but I don't think it's by a wide margin or anything like that. But we know what to expect with Billy Q. The guy likes to move forward. He likes to break you. He likes to take you to deep waters. He doesn't mind taking a licking or two, but he does eventually get it going in the later half of the fight, whether it's, late second round and then obviously all of the third round. Most of his fights go to that third round, and he's usually the one taking over. The issue that I have here, though, is I just feel like striking defense wise, Billy Q is not the greatest. Gavin Tucker obviously been hurt and dropped in his own right, but I feel like Billy Q, he throws combinations, which is great and all that, but he just doesn't have the greatest striking defense. If I'm not mistaken, I believe he has a 51% striking defense rate at this point in time. The guy gets hit. We've seen him rock. We've seen him dropped, but luckily for him, he always bounces back and he always comes back and either finishes his opponents late or he gets the decision victory by taking rounds 2 and 3. Here with Gavin Tucker, though, I think that Tucker is very, very live to get him out of that first round. I think he can land some big shots early in that fight. We've seen Quarantillo knocked out by a head kick in the past too. It's not like he can't be finished. I like Gavin Tucker here. I think he's a very live dog. And I do think if this fight does get extended, I don't think that it's out of the question that he can get the second round as well too. Like I think people are just expecting his cardio and his output to just completely fall off a cliff once that second round starts. And I don't really get that. Yeah, we can look back at the Rick Glenn fight, and that's what everybody's going to be harping on here. But I feel like that fight's going to be a little bit of an anomaly. Like I think that we saw Gavin really going for it and trying to get Glenn out of there, like late second or first round and early second round. Then he starts to fall off that cliff, and then Glenn starts to take over. But I feel like the striking deficiencies that we see from Billy early in the fights will kind of bite him in the butt. And even the pressure could be used against him here with Gavin Tucker, who's going to be, again, much quicker to the punch, better technically as well. Obviously, he's going to have to worry about the counters coming back his way because he has been rocked and dropped in past fights. But he's durable himself too. So as much as people want to shut on him for, taking a beating from Rick Glenn, and maybe another referee probably would have stopped that, he still kept moving. He still kept on going and try to keep the fight, extending the fight as much as possible. But I like Gavin Tucker here. Personally, I bet him out plus 147. I was hoping for that plus 150, but I settled with the plus 147. But if people aren't with that, I think another line here that's really good is the under 2.5, which is now at plus 170. I think that's a solid spot too. So if you don't think that Tucker can get it done early, maybe Billy does really start to pull away later in this fight and then get that finish in the third. But I do like Tucker, man. I think he gets it done early. I even have him by KO. I got him at plus 900. I'm seeing at plus 1070 now. So even it's ballooning up a little bit more there. So I'm taking Tucker to win this fight early. But even if it hits a decision, I wouldn't be surprised to see Tucker pull off those 2 first rounds. But yeah, again, technically the best fighter that Billy Q has fought up until this date. And I think it's going to come back and finally bite him in the butt. And Tucker gets the finish here. So yeah, I'm taking Tucker first round KO.
There you go. Cody Saftik, who are you liking?
Okay, so Tucker's obviously got striking advantages. Both guys pretty much nailed it. He's going to be quicker. He's the better athlete. He's got a much better jab, and Billy's super hittable. So definitely he's going to get off to a hot start, probably go out there and piece Billy up in the early going. It's just my question is the longer it goes. Also, like my boy Locke saying, maybe he gets that knockout. Maybe he just hurts Billy so bad and Billy doesn't recover, and Billy normally recovers, but this time he doesn't. But Tucker's short on knockouts against anything remotely close to quality, right? I mean, his knockout victories consist of Bo Harris, who was 7-6 at the time, Chris Coggins, who was 7-9 at the time, and that was over 4 years ago, right? Since then, all of his wins are him piecing these guys up. He might be able to get the submission, but I don't think anybody sees him submitting Billy Q. So as far as him being the better striker, that's fine. But when you're a better striker, what you hope is, I'm such a better striker that I'm going to piece this guy up and knock him out. And in this case, piecing him up and hurting him is probably not going to be good enough because Billy's just got an excellent gas tank. It is not that Gavin doesn't. It's that if this becomes a dirty fight, if this becomes a war, and Billy can drag it into those waters, and Gavin's capable as well, I lean to the durability of Billy a little bit more than I do with Gavin Tucker. I mean, Gavin Tucker's fought a lot of guys that couldn't really crack. It's not that Billy can crack. It's that the volume, it's just going to add up. It should add up. Now, that Justin James fight, right? Justin James, and this is not a knock on him, right? He is who he is, but he's kind of that go forward, brawler type, not super technical, aggressive, in your face. I'm all over Tucker. All of us are all over Tucker. Tucker comes out and it's such a class change. It's like Tucker is killing this guy. He looks really good. And then James catches him. And all of a sudden this guy's hurt. And all of a sudden we're all in a sweat. But the better man prevails and he defeats Justin James. His other wins prior to Justin James, Soo Woo Choi, which it took him 3 rounds to get out. Don't think it would take Billy 3 rounds, but all the same, it takes 3 rounds. It's not super quality of an opponent. And then you go to that Rick Glenn fight where it's like, oh, that's how you deal with the taller man. Okay, well, Billy's, I don't know. I wouldn't say there's much of a height advantage. But Rick Glenn's just able to just absolutely chop this guy up. And like Billy, Rick Glenn's not high on power, but it's just that output. It's just that hurt this guy and stay on this guy. And when you have him hurt, you don't give him a second to breathe. You just keep going, keep going. Billy's kind of that guy. So I'll admit, both of these guys are not wrong. Gavin Tucker is a live dog. You're looking at this card, you're looking to bet dogs. I know a lot of guys, they only bet dogs. Gavin Tucker is a live dog. But my official play is Billy Q. And I think Billy Q, the under 2.5 is not bad. But I got to go in the other way. Instead of Gavin catching Billy late, I think Billy might be able to catch Gavin late. But again, Gavin's the Canada representing, and I love him. Billy's 3-0 against Canadians. He's kind of the Canadian killer. He's got that... But I'm a Billy guy. I like what I see out of him. I know he's going to fight for my dollar. I just think that if this becomes they're slinging mud at each other, I'm gonna put my dollar in Billy's side. So yeah, I don't love him at the favorite price tag. I do agree with the live dog notion, but got to stick with my guns.
Yeah, well, Cody, you say you're a Billy guy. I'm a Billy guy too, man. Billy Q, I've been riding him up to this point. Now, that doesn't mean anything. We got to take every fight in a vacuum, on a fight-by-fight basis. Here's the thing, though, guys. Like, you pretty much broke it down. It's Billy Q. I like to talk about his motor. This kid can just keep going, puts a great pace. And, man, if you're still there in that third round, you better have something left in the tank because Billy Q is going to put it on you. Here's something that I think's a pretty good point, though. So we talk about Gavin coming out pretty hot. Billy, usually takes a while to warm up. I think Gavin could come out here, put it on Billy pretty good in that first round. We could be looking at a very good live bet opportunity here after that first round. Gavin maybe comes out there, puts it on Billy. Billy's still around, man. Gavin's emptied that gas tank for the most part. Man, you could get hit Billy at that plus money. I won't be surprised if Billy finishes him late in the second, even into that third round. I'm thinking Billy Q. I'm going to take Billy Q outright, but I think we could be looking at a very prime live betting opportunity after round one. So let's keep it going. And here we go. A fight that why we're talking about this fight so early on the prelims, I'll never know. But we've got Renato Moicano going up against Rafael Fiziev. I believe we're back to my man Locke kicking it off.
Yeah, it's weird that this fight got replaced with the Dern and Jandiroba fight on the main card, but it is what it is. Great fight for sure. I'd say probably third fight that I'm looking most forward to. Great fight between two predominantly strikers, but Moicano does have a really good jiu-jitsu game as well too, and I wouldn't be surprised to see if he tries to go to that in this fight here. Now, I'd like this fight a little bit more when it was at a pick'em line because that's where I truly believe it should be at. But I think that there is, again, I always bring up the recency bias, and I feel like there is some recency bias here with Renato Moicano, who everybody was on him. Everybody before that Jose Aldo fight. People were betting him against Jose Aldo. Goes out there, gets finished by Jose Aldo. All right, that's cool. Then goes out there, everybody's betting him against Korean Zombie. Gets put out by Korean Zombie. And now obviously he's going to be a huge favorite against Amir Hadzovic. Everybody knew that one was going to go the way it did. Now here against Fiziev, Fiziev had a rough start to the UFC, getting knocked out by Magomed Mustafayev, and then he's put together two solid wins over Alex White and Mark Diakese. But I still feel like this line should be pretty much at a pick 'em, as Fiziev is still on the rise. Moicano has shown us what he can bring to the table, whether it's his striking or his ground game. I feel like if he wants to be successful in this fight, he's going to need to get it to the ground. We saw that Muay Thai and that kickboxing on display from Fiziev in his last two fights. The guy is an absolute monster. He's 27 years old, so he still has some growing to do and definitely still has to complete his game. But the progression that I'm seeing from him, his ability to mix in takedowns and just have a complete MMA game is very, very, it's great to see, especially if you're a fan of those Tiger Muay Thai guys. He is the head kickboxing coach over there, or Muay Thai coach, so that's another accolade in his corner. I think he goes out there, keeps this fight on the feet. I'm not the biggest believer that Moicano will be successful in getting this to the ground time and time again. I think Fiziev will be able to keep it on the feet, kind of outstrike Moicano over 15 minutes. Doesn't seem to be the craziest finisher. Maybe, Renato Moicano does have some durability issues, as we saw in those two losses to Aldo and TKZ. But it feels to me like Fiziev plays it a little bit more safe, goes out there and just outstrikes this guy for 15 minutes. So the spot that I do like is actually the over 2.5. Minus 112 is not too bad. But I still think that Fiziev takes this fight via decision. And yeah, I'm excited for his future. The guy looks like he has a ton of potential, and he's at the age where he's ever improving. So I still do believe the line does need to be at an even line. I believe that there's a ton of recency bias baked into it, but I still do think that Fiziev pulls it off. Hence why I guess the line is moving the way it is. But I do like Fiziev to win this fight via decision.
Sure. Cody, who do you like?
I'm going to go the other way again on this one. Go with Renato Moicano. Again, I like that it was Moicano underdog money, which is what plus 135. It's kind of a dogger pass situation for me. Fiziev might just be the flavor du jour. Everybody likes him. He comes in that Diakese fight. He looks like a man on fire. Those body kicks are nasty. Absolutely chews up the lead leg. Everything he's throwing is a ton of power. It doesn't result in the KO. And quite frankly, a lot of his wins in the UFC, what we've seen so far is that, big power doesn't translate. Wasn't able to take out Alex White, and then obviously lost his debut. But everyone's just super impressed with it. Then you look at his credentials. Oh my God, this guy's accolades in kickboxing and Muay Thai, and he's the head striking coach at Tiger Muay Thai over in Thailand. And he's only 27 years old, and he's getting better and this and that. And it's like, it's easy to buy into this hype, but like Moicano's the guy that, sure, he lost to TKZ, and he lost to Brian Ortega, and he lost to Jose Aldo. But it's like, he's fighting the best guys in the world. He's not fighting Alex White.
Right.
He's certainly not fighting the bottom end guys of the division. And if he was, then I would expect him to go out there and look just as good as Rafael Fiziev. But Fiziev doesn't have a ton of output, right? You see in the Magomed Mustafa fight, it's only a minute and a half before he gets kicked. But it's like, he doesn't really throw much. Whatever. UFC debut, maybe it's jitters, only a minute and a half. Totally write it off. The Alex White fight, it's like he's low on volume again. Like it's a pretty competitive fight, to be honest with you. And then you see him his last time out against Mark Diakase. He looks career best, but Mark Diakase just looks like a deer in headlights. So one thing I'm buying into Moicano, which is plus money, so I'm willing to, give a little bit of lean and buy into these things, is that the losses that Moicano was having were at 145 pounds. And you look at this guy, he's 32, so this is as big as he's going to get. He's in the prime of his career. At next year, the year after that, we're going to be talking about him being a little too old. So he's filled out, and he's 5'11". In fact, he's got a sizable height advantage anyways on Fiziev, who's 5'8". But as far as being a 5'11" featherweight goes, like, buddy, good luck. Like, that's big for the weight class. Him coming up to 55, we got the Damir Hadzovic fight. Now, it doesn't last long enough for you to get a real notion of how good he looks. And he's fighting Damir Hadzovic, who, shockingly enough, had previously never been submitted. Moicano apparently was the first guy. But he just blows right through him. So what can you take away? But what I did take away is that he looked good. He looked filled out. He looked like 55 could be a good weight class for him. So can he outstrike Fiziev? No, technically he's not as good of a striker. But he shows, like the Calvin Kattar fight, for example. He can throw 117 significant strikes in that fight. It's just output, state of the outside. But the bigger takeaway is go back and watch the Jeremy Stephens fight, where Stephens, similar to Fiziev in the way that he plants his feet and wants to just throw power, wants to meet you in the middle of the cage and wants to throw down. And Moicano just does not do it. He just dances around, picks away this guy, dances around, picks away the guy, wins all the fight metric stats, wins a split decision. A lot of people were complaining online, but it's like that proper game plan. But beyond all that, get the fight to the ground if you can. I got a feeling that Fiziev's got heavy hips and that he's obviously been working on his wrestling. He seems like one of these really strong, aggressive guys. Might be hard to take down, but wear on this guy if you can. Moicano's not a chain wrestler. He's not a grinder type wrestler. He's taken down opponents in the past, but they're not wrestlers. So can I lean on the game plan of get him down consistently? No. But can I lean on the game plan of him outstriking Fiziev a little bit just on volume in spots and then mixing in a takedown or two? Maybe tire this guy out, maybe wear on this guy a little bit. Yeah. This guy has got to do more than beat Mark Diakase and beating Alex White before he really establishes himself as a top guy. Whereas Moicano was everybody's darling just last year, right? I mean, he's going out there and beating top name guys and looking good doing so. So he's got a ground game advantage. I would give him the wrestling advantage. And the striking advantage is definitely Fiziev's, but numbers-wise, the judges might go with volume based on those big eye-popping shots. And then the last thing, me and Locke talked about this last night, but training in Thailand's dope, man. You can train full-time. It's cheap. You've got bodies because there's people that are vacationing there. So you're in camps with all these guys that are on these, like, fight vacations. And then as well as the people that are regular and blah. But as soon as COVID hit, like, all these guys dipped Thailand. Like, tourism's dead there. There's no bodies that came to camp. There's nobody who's doing these destination tours there. A lot of the guys that were on these visas and stuff, like the foreigners, the Farangs, they all had to leave. So, yeah, dope that he's the top guy there, but, like, he's probably the top guy there. So, like, who's pushing him? Whereas, like, Moicano's getting in rounds, dog. So, live dog, yes. You guys were talking about Gavin Tucker as a live dog last time. I agree, but I'm going to go with Billy Q. This time, I think Moicano's the live dog, and I'll have a little play there.
Nice. Guru, who you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with lock of the night here. I'm going to go with Fiziev on this one. And I think it's a close fight, but I actually feel like Fiziev in this fight might be the one that throws more volume solely because I feel like Moicano, he can get a little bit gun shy at times, especially against guys that attack the body and then go up. Like that happened in the fight with Aldo and in his fight with Korean Zombie, where he kind of like bit to the feints of the body and then got hit with the hooks clean. And I feel like Fiziev is going to be able to just be the guy that's going to be going forward in the fight. And I think Moicano's going to be looking to like pick his shots more, like throw straights, jabs down the middle and try to the way he hurt Cub Swanson, because he's real sharp with his punches. And Fiziev can get a little bit wild sometimes, but I just feel like the athleticism, the speed, the kicks that he throws, the body attack is going to make Moicano hesitant to, really want to exchange or, stay in the pocket, because I don't feel like he has the best movement either. He's a little bit of a plodding guy. So unless he can just be way sharper than Fiziev and move around or hit the takedowns, which I just don't really see him getting takedowns. I don't know. I mean, if he can hit the takedown, then he'll probably win the fight, because I just don't really know what Fiziev has on bottom. But I have seen Fiziev like training videos where he has like real crazy sprawls. Looks like he's a really good scrambler. So I feel like he's a super athletic guy, man. He's the younger guy. I feel like I don't know if, he's going to be more confident, but Moicano, he only has that one win, kind of a low level win at lightweight. So I just favor Fiziev to win on the feet, and I don't think Moicano can hit the takedown. So that's why I'm going to go with Fiziev here.
Cool. Yeah, man. I tell you what, I'm going to take Moicano in this one. I think this fight should be a lot closer to 50-50. Fiziev, I still feel like is a little bit unproven. Don't get me wrong. I'm very, very impressed in the win over Mark Jacare. At the same time, though, I feel like Mark Jacare is such a mixed bag. When he looks really good, he looks really good. When he looks really bad, like I feel like he did against Fiziev, he looks pretty bad. Try not to take anything away from Fiziev. He entered the Matrix, some really cool stuff. I think he's a super, super high-level striker. I think Moicano's going to be able to hold his own on the feet. I probably do lean advantage Fiziev when the fight's on the feet, but yeah, man, for me, the grappling is just all Moicano. I feel like Moicano has got to know you don't go out there and try to win a kickboxing Muay Thai match against the striking coach at Tiger Muay Thai. You know what I mean? Listen, maybe he does. Maybe he goes out there, spends way too much time on the feet. But plus money, man, underdog spot here. Moicano against, I kind of feel like, a still slightly untested Fiziev. I'm going to take the shot on Moicano. Okay, so we're rolling. Here we go. Another really good fight. Cub Swanson coming back off of a layoff and injury, going up against Daniel Pineda. Is it Cody Saftik up on this one, I believe?
Yeah, I mean, with Cub Swanson, has he got one more left in the tank? Because this guy's just looked done at various points of his career, and then just got a little bit more magic. The Doo Ho Choi fight, oh my God. The Kron Gracie fight, again, that's a high in sight fight. High in sight. Kron Gracie, and you watch the last name on Bellator cards, like Gracie's in 2020, 2019, 2018, pretty much Gracie's at any point beyond like 97. Yeah, not exactly what they used to be. So with Cub Swanson, is he capable of coming out and springing the upset? Yeah, definitely. I thought he looked really competitive in the Shane Burgos fight, and I was all over Shane Burgos. I thought just the younger, more agile, better striker, gonna stay in his face. But Burgos is not a power puncher. He not really one of these guys that has a ton of power. Likes to get into a dogfight. Him and Cub was good. It was competitive. Glad that Burgos got the win there. But Cub taking, after the Crone fight, blowing out his knee the way he did against Jake Shields, it's just like a history of injuries. Like, Cub's been around the block for a long time. He's been in there with all the top guys. He's taken a lot of damage. Blowing out his knee and then getting sidelined after, a reinvigorating win. I'm just not 100% sure what version of him's coming back here tonight. That's why it's hard to back him. Would he be considered a live dog? Yeah, because he's Cub Swanson. He's got a good skill set. But Daniel Pineda, despite being 35 years old, despite having more professional fights under his belt, it just doesn't have the mileage. And honestly, he's on a tear right now. I was attributing it to the fact that he got flagged in PFL as soon as he butchered two guys. And he looked like a completely new man. Because this is a guy back in 2011 was getting iced by our boy Antonio Carvalho from Ontario. And it was just like, Daniel Pineda, he's just one of these regional show guys from Texas. He had been previously submitted 6 times. But that's all back in rearview mirror, baby. Since then, it's like he's been on a legitimate roll. He hasn't been submitted in 10 years. He hasn't been knocked out in 9 years. He's earned his own BJJ black belt, and he's put it to good use. He's going out there and submitting some decent guys. His stand-up's gotten ever improving, and he's just got slightly better durability than Cub Swanson. But could Cub Swanson come out there and clip this guy and hurt him and put him away? Yeah, suppose it's possible. Hasn't happened in 9 years, but he hasn't exactly been fighting the Cub Swansons of the world. So I would say Cub's live, but I just can't get behind him. Again, it's one of those things where even when he comes out there and impresses you, you just don't see it coming. It's like that one more hurrah moment out of him. And with Pineda, I think he's hungry. I can't call him young. I can't call him a prospect, but he's that hungry guy that wants it, that wants his due. You know how, I don't want to say humiliating. He had one run in the UFC back in 2011, but like, imagine devoting your life to the sport of mixed martial arts and never really having your opportunity. You fought like 39 times on the regional scene for free. Because let's be honest, paying your coaches and your supplements and your gym fees and getting around from point A to point B in your physio appointment, and you don't have a healthcare plan, like, You're not making any money fighting on the regional scene, on a low Texas regional scene level, right? Or like a house show. So it's like you want your opportunity. And when he got to PFL, it's like, again, this is a guy that's got skills and just hasn't really been given the lights to show them, right? Looked great in PFL, gets released. And interesting enough, the UFC still signs him, right? I'll still take this guy. Still looks decent enough. Comes in as an underdog for Herbert Burns. And the sharps are saying, you know what? This guy's got the skills, because Herbert Burns is a fraud, let's be honest. But this guy's black belt's legitimate, that Herbert's not going to submit him. And his striking's good enough that'll break him down. And his card is good enough. And you see this guy, now it's his big moment. It's do-over number 2, 35. This is my last run at this. This is my last time to make some money. And just mauls Herbert Burns. Just looks awesome. And I expect that same hungry guy to come out here and try to break down a guy in Cub Swanson who's, he's already been at the top. He never really got to the top, but he's already been near the top of the mountain. And now it's that decline. It's just like, I don't know where that motivation level's at. I'm sure he wants to win. I'm sure he's highly motivated in his own eyes, but like I feel like Pineda's got the edge. So the money line's Pineda, and I'd want a better price on it, but I'll end up taking that. I don't have a lean inside the distance or by decision. Like one hand, this fight screams inside the distance. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, like I don't know. I really thought the Duho Choi fight, Cub Swanson fight screamed inside the distance. The way the Crone Gracie fight was, I don't know. There's just like different spots with Cub that the fights end up getting there, even though it's like, oh my God, look how these guys are both hurt and these guys are both tired. These guys are both slinging. They still end up going to decision. So I don't have a great lean as far as that goes. Daniel Pineda's best path to victory, just go in there, score a takedown, out grapple this guy from top control. But if he wants to have a war with Cub will oblige. I'm hoping he takes the easy path to victory.
Makes sense. Guru, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go the other way. I'm going to go with Cub Swanson in this one. And I mean, I get like a lot of people are on Pineda seem like super confident, but when I'm just looking I watched a few of his fights. I mean, a lot of these fights that he's fought since his fight with Emmanuel Sanchez, even that fight, but they're all grapplers, man. They all try to wrestle with him. He does this thing in all of his fights where he throws these like super sloppy high kicks, almost just like, I feel like he does it on purpose. So he goes to the ground and guys fall him to the bottom, because it seems like it happens in almost every fight. And he's real good. He'll sweep, get to top position, and then do his thing on the ground. But I just don't trust him here against a guy that's, has good fight IQ, is tenured. I think he's going to try to keep it on the feet and strike. I feel like he's going to have a big striking advantage in the fight. I think Pineda early on is going to have that power, the explosiveness. He has pretty good leg kicks, but his striking is real sloppy. And I think after Cub gets kind of a read on his speed, the way that he closes the distance, everything like that, I think he's going to start to be able to break him down a little bit. And I think Pineda is going to start flopping to his back, doing things like that. And I think if Cub just has good fight IQ, doesn't fall him to the ground, doesn't do anything, dumb, I think he'll be able to win a decision here. I mean, Pineda, he's had 27 wins, all finishes. So he's never won a decision. He's 0-5 in decisions. Crazy. He's lost like 13 times. So it's not like he's, not used to losing either, especially if the fight goes past the second round. I mean, he's lost like almost every single fight of his career that's gone past the second round. So, I mean, he's used to losing when fights go long. And I feel like Cub could kind of, get him past that point and start to take over the fight. But I don't know if he's going to be able to get a finish. Pineda is a tough guy. Obviously hasn't got finished in a long time. So I'm actually leaning more towards Cub Swanson by decision in this one.
Cool. Locke, who you got?
Yeah, I'm with Cody here with the Pineda side. I think that this is a very tough fight for Cub to come back to after such a bad injury, especially at 37 years old. I mean, you're not getting any younger. You're not, the recovery is going to be a little bit harder for you, especially at that age. And now, like, Cub Swanson seems to be in a little bit of the decline. Like the Crone Gracie fight, let's call it what it is. I mean, Crone Gracie doesn't really have the greatest wrestling. He's not able to get the fight into his realm, and he really struggled in that fight. Cub Swanson was having his way on the feet pretty much. So that was a very tough matchup for Crone right there. With Pineda, you're talking about a guy that's like crashing forward pretty much at all times, looking for the finish. 27 of his wins, All of his wins by finish. Not one has seen the judges' scorecard. The guy wants to go in there, take your head off, or at least, just try to choke you out or whatever it is. And I think that's a very tough style for Swanson to come back to. Like, it's a different thing for him to go out there and fight Frankie Edgar on his return. I mean, Frankie Edgar is not really going out there for the kill. He's looking to pitter-patter you and win a decision or something like that. Not Daniel. Daniel is looking to he knows that ACL is compromised. He's probably going to target it. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go out there and just start chopping the leg of Cub Swanson. I'm not saying it's going to be easy and Swanson's going to let him just chop at it, but that might be a focus of the camp. And one thing I want to talk about Daniel Pineda's stretch in between his UFC run. So his last loss in the UFC was Robert Whiteford. Then he gets to let go. Ideally, he could be on an 11-fight winning streak. And I want to break this down for you guys real quick. The Manuel Sanchez fight loses a split decision there. If another judge gives that to him, that's a win.
Right.
The Georgi Karakhanyan fight, absolutely demolishing Karakhanyan for a round and a half, almost 9 minutes of that fight. Karakhanyan lands this up kick that cuts him open. As soon as the doctor walks in there, he's like, this fight's over. Like, it wasn't even that bad of a cut. Let's be honest. Go back and look at that cut. Now, we've seen much, much worse fights, and the fights have still gone on. So Hugh probably would have won that fight if it continued going. Undefeated. And then obviously he has a 2-0 contest because he was on all the slots that you could potentially have. So yeah, we got a 12-fight winning streak right there. Since he got that go from the UFC, he hasn't really lost a step. Like, the guy's still there. I think he still has talent, and he's getting better and better. Like, he's made some improvements in that amount of time. Now, level of competition in that amount of time, sketchy. I get it. You got a guy on there that's 24-25. You got a guy that's 5-0 when Pineda was going into his 38th fight. You know what I mean? So that's obviously skeptical, but he's supposed to go out there and do that to these guys. That's exactly what he did. So with Herbert Burns comes in there, pulls off that big upset. Shout out to anybody they got the plus 230-ish on Herbert Burns or on Daniel Pineda in that fight. That was a great fight for him to go showcase that he still has it, that he can actually compete. And he's catching Cub Swanson at the best time. Because if Cub Swanson was like in his prime and was able to like keep the distance and really pick him apart from the outside, I think that's his best path to victory. At 37 years old, after an ACL surgery, I'm not so confident that he's going to be able to go out there and do that, especially after a long layoff like this too. Daniel Pineda's in there. He got his win. If I'm not mistaken, he got a performance of the night bonus that night too against Herbert Burns. Yeah, he did. So if anything, that's just even more motivating for him to go out there and be like, I want to rack up another 50 Gs. Let me just try to get Swanson out there as soon as possible. Obviously, a lot easier said than done, but I feel like he should be able to get the takedowns and really start to put the hurt on Cub Swanson. So I like Pineda, minus 155, not too bad of a line. If you want to take him inside the distance, I think that's a solid spot too. But this is a prime spot for Daniel Pineda to go out there and get a finish, in my opinion.
Yeah, I tell you what, I think Daniel Pineda's I like the Daniel Pineda spot quite a bit in this one. It's like you brought up, Locke. I'm glad you brought it up so I didn't have to, man. You know, this guy's very, very close to being on just an absolutely tremendous win streak. And I got to say this to any up-and-coming fighters out there who are fighting in an organization where there's not USADA. Figure out whatever substance that was that Pineda was on, because apparently it turns you into a monster, okay? This guy rose from mediocrity and really came about one failed drug test away from snatching up $1 million in a PFL tournament, right? I mean, this dude was on a tear, truly impressive stuff. Go back and watch these fights. He gets after it. And it appears we've got some staying power. I don't know if the picograms are still flowing or what, but I'm still very, very impressed with Daniel Pineda at 35 years old, which we're talking about Daniel Pineda at 35. I'd be knocking his age if he wasn't fighting a 37-year-old in Cub Swanson. Too many red flags for me, man. Cub was on a 4-fight losing streak before he got in there, beat Kron Gracie, who I got to tell you guys something, man. These new generation Gracies, they're fraudulent, fully fraudulent. We see it over and over again in Bellator. Kron's lucky he even made it that far. I actually bet Cub in that spot as a tremendous underdog. It was one of my best bets of last year. Cub coming off the reconstructed knee, 37 years old, fighting a guy in Daniel Pineda who literally wins every fight inside the distance. When this guy wins, it's inside the distance. You know what I'm going to do? I got Daniel Pineda inside the distance. I think he beats up on old man Cub. So we are up to first fight of the main card. Big time banger. Junior Dos Santos versus Ciryl Gane. And I think it's my man Guru up on this one.
Yeah, this is one of like the next fight too with Kevin Holland, Jacare. You could even say the fight that we just talked about, even though Pineda is not really in that situation. It's like the changing of the guard type of fights, right? Where, you know, JDS, he's really looked very good recently. Ciryl Gane, he's gotten 3 wins against 3 low-level guys, but he is, eye-popping. He's not really your typical heavyweight. He'll switch stances, hands down, a lot of skills. He's like a real skilled guy. He's one of the most skilled heavyweights, I would say, in the division, but hasn't been tested, and I feel like he doesn't really have big stopping power either. So, I mean, I actually see him, working on the back foot in this fight, throwing a lot of kicks, landing low kicks, body kicks, the jab. And I don't know if he's going to get a finish here. I feel like a lot of people are thinking that because JDS is chinny these days, obviously, he's gotten finished in a lot of his recent fights. I think his last 3 in a row, but I just don't know if Ciryl Gane is going to come in with that same type of game plan. I think it's going to be more like a striking clinic for him. He's going to use his speed and kind of, do what JDS did to other guys back in the day. But I don't see JDS having a lot of success with the striking. And I just don't think he's going to try to change it up, get takedowns. I don't think Ciryl Gane is going to be able to hit a heel hook or anything stupid like he's done against these low-level guys. So I actually think it's going to be a decision for Ciryl Gane. But, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked either if he'd landed a shot and Junior just can't take it anymore. But I actually think Ciryl Gane will win a decision in this one.
Good take, Guru. Lock of the night. What do you got?
Yeah, Guru's pretty much on the nose here. I like Gane by decision as well. I think it's plus 255, which isn't too bad of a line, or plus 225 now. But yeah, Gane, like earlier in his career, you see him going out there and just trying to headhunt, trying to get these guys out of there, use his speed, use his power, and it worked for him. But then when he started to face a little bit of adversity in terms of not getting a guy out of there, I think that's where it really changed for him to really go out there and just, kind of be a little bit more efficient with his gas tank. Go out there and just pitter-patter some of these guys. And I use pitter-patter very lightly. These guys are heavyweights. So I'm sure one of his pitter-patters would knock me the hell out. But I think that he has an understanding that sometimes fights are going to get extended. It might go to 15 minutes. And maybe when he starts hitting those championship fights, it's going to go 25 minutes. There's the potential of that. So for him to use his footwork the way that he has so effortlessly in his last couple fights and just kind of conserving his energy and just trying to get to that 15th minute. And sure, if a finish presents itself, I'm sure he's going to jump on it. Like, it's not like he's going to be like, oh, I got JDS hurt. Let me just sit back and just, let him recover and I'll get back into this fight. I'm sure he'll go for the kill if it presents itself. But with JDS, I see a lot of people just kind of ragging on him for his durability. Let's just look at his last 3 losses. You got Francis Ngannou that can knock out a horse. You got Curtis Blades that landed the hardest punch he's ever landed in his career on JDS that night. And then Jairzinho Rosenstrike. You know what I mean? I think you could call him second heaviest puncher in the heavyweight division, maybe third behind Derek Lewis. But those are the top finishers in the division. I mean, Gane, we're seeing a little bit more patience from him. The guy does not mind just trotting around a little bit and just doing his pitter-patter work. And I think that's where we see this fight get extended, which is why I like the over 1.5. I personally bet it at minus 120. It's at that minus 140, minus 150 range, which I still think is not too bad. And I like that Gane decision prop at plus 225. I think we just see him kind of just not dance circles around JDS here, but like kind of just have more output, have more volume, and get a decision victory that way. And JDS, when he's not getting knocked out and when he's not trying to feel for the cage behind him, because he always has this habit of finding himself up against the cage, that's where he gets knocked out. So if a knockout does come, it's potentially with JDS's back against the cage and Gane kind of trapping him. But I feel like we're going to see Gane play it a little bit more safe, keep this streak going, know that he's fighting a former heavyweight champion. This is a big fight for him. This is his first big name that he's going to get on his record. So he wants to, I hope that he goes out there, plays it safe. I get to catch that 7.5 minute over 1.5 prop. That would be great. But yeah, I like Gane via decision. Plus 225, in my opinion. There's a solid amount of value there.
Dang, I like it. Cody Saftik, who do you got?
Yeah, it's a narrative that the UFC seems to be writing. I know Guru kind of, touched base on it a little bit, but when they come out and they say they're releasing 60 fighters, right? It's going to be these high-profile guys that are making a lot of money, and you want these guys, going out on a loss so that, you never want your guy going out on a win, and now he's got a little bit of marketability, and he was hanging in the UFC. You want these guys to be washed out by the time Bellator gets them. So you want to give that shine of beating a former champion to one of your young guys, and that's what Ciryl is going to get. They want to build up Rosenstruck, so they gave him the JDS treatment. They want to build up Blade, so they give him the JDS treatment. They want to get Francis Ngannou into a title shot situation. They give him the JDS treatment. Gane, even though he's way greener than those guys, and I don't think that he's quite put the game together nearly as much as those guys, he just fits that mold of like that young mobile heavyweight, a good up-and-comer that the UFC can build on, they can develop. He's only had a handful of pro fights, but you see that development through him. He's got a really credited Muay Thai background coming out of France, but at the same time, you just see how the ground game's improved leaps and bounds. The play on this is the over 1.5. You can hit the over 2. You can hit the over 2.5. As Guru mentioned, he sees Gane winning a decision. Fight goes the distance. Locke saying same thing. Gane wins the decision. Fight goes the distance. I got Gane winning. More than likely, he wins the decision. I could see him getting a late stoppage. The only reason I say that was with JDS, it's winding down. He does take a lot of damage, and there's just this, he's got more red flags than a go-kart track, like at some point, a big heavyweight, even though he's only 240 pounds, is going to have him tired, is going to hit him clean on the chin, and could put him down. So I like the fight to start round 3. I like the over 1.5 for sure. And I like Gane. I don't know that I'm fully on board with the Gane by decision, although it's a nice plus money play. And I agree, like, I don't mind it. It's not going to be one of my plays personally, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, I'm on board with you guys. Ciryl Gane, very, very green guy, not a lot of experience. You look at the resumes, it's absolutely astounding, but obviously they know what they're doing here. Cody, I'm totally with you on the narrative here with JDS, talking about the cuts. He's a former champion, future UFC Hall of Famer, no doubt in my mind. But a guy that's getting paid a tremendous amount of money and honestly just is not performing, is not the name value anymore. I think at this point, he's just not that solid of an investment from the UFC's perspective. When you look at who this guy's fought up to this point, you'd think if they wanted to keep him around, they'd throw him, somebody a little more beatable at this point than this, up and coming monster that is Ciryl Gane. And, JDS, I feel like is a guy you watch on tape. He's just absolutely fading. I think he still has power. I think he could still win some fights at heavyweight. I like his chances much better against a Bellator heavyweight. But yeah, man, the reaction time, just everything that JDS has going for him, man, I just don't see it anymore. I think this is a terrible matchup for him. I'm going to take Ciryl in this spot. I don't have necessarily the best read. I do think Ciryl could end up taking him out early, could take him out late, or like you guys said, we could even see a decision. I think I'm just going to go the safer route. I'm going to take Ciryl straight, and I'm going to end up parlaying him. So we're already on to the main card, and oh boy, here we go. I can't wait till your guys' takes on this one. We got Kevin Holland going up against Jacare Souza, and I believe Guru, are you up, or is it who do we got up on this one?
I'll take this one because I just want to start by saying it fits the same narrative, right? And we got to look, it's not just this card, right? You go back last week, right? Jamal Hill versus OSP. OSP makes 100,000 and 100,000. He's got a really nice contract. He's on not on a losing streak technically. His best days are behind him. He's 37 years old. He's going to be on that list of 60 guys being released. The Paul Craig fight versus Shogun Rua. Shogun Rua is done. You've seen his best days behind him. That was his last one. Paul Craig doesn't make a whole lot of money. He's still young enough that we can have some fun fights with him. He's a finisher. You move on. They're phasing out these aging guys, right? But at some point, you hit a Yoel Romero type who, even though he's losing, is like still got a tremendous amount of skills to him, right? Cub Swanson, by the way, he's got a job for life. I don't think they ever release that guy. I don't think you don't let him go to a competitor. He can't bare knuckle box because his hands can't take it. But yeah, no, you wouldn't let him go to a Bellator or a PFL. Like, he's got a home for life. But a Jacare Souza, just being that, even though he's competitive against the best guys in the world, he's 41 years old. He's had his best run. He makes a lot of money. And they're trying to build up these next guys. Kevin Holland's young. He's exciting. He's 4-0 this year. This is his 5th fight. Everyone's talking about him. He's really big for the weight class. He's making a lot of improvements. He just got his BJJ black belt. But it's like, this is a bad style matchup for him, only because his takedown defense looks really weak. That looks like the one issue in his game. I think part of having that long man game to you is that, you have all the advantages of length and reach. You can stay on the outside and you can cause your opponent to have to come to you. Like, you have all those natural gifts, but takedown defense has always been a problem. Just because you have that higher center of gravity, someone's going to get you down. Jacare is one of these guys who's just, he's a BJJ expert, but he's worked a lot on his wrestling. His ability to get the fight to the ground is pretty good. What worries me, especially at 41, is his cardio is just gone. You see him routinely gassed out after the first round now. The Kelvin Gastelum fight, same thing. Like, he resorts to just winging bombs. The Chris Weidman fight, he's gassed, just winging bombs because he's tired. Technique goes out the window. At 41, coming back down, last fight against Jan Blachowicz, it's at 205 pounds. He admits, the cut to 85 is a little hard. Now you go up to 205. You go 5 hard rounds, taxing on the body. Now to come back to 185, and mind you, I didn't think he looked terrible on the scale, and 185 is definitely his natural weight class. But it's like it's hard to trust him, but I like him as far as one of these aging veterans that could still spring the upset victory. He needs those takedowns. He needs to win at least 2 rounds. And then in that 3rd round, Kevin Holland doesn't knock this guy out, then we're good. Holland's gotten taken down by way lesser competition. He's been out grappled by way lesser competition. And this is super deceiving, right? So Kevin Holland is a BJJ black belt under Travis Lutter. And as everybody knows, Travis Lutter, the Michael Jordan of BJJ.
Oh.
But it's like this guy is getting out grappled in a lot of spots, man. And I don't know. I just think that if he hits the ground, he's in a lot of trouble. If it stays standing, Jacare's ability to just chew up that leg, he's got an excellent leg kick game, but just stay aggressive, stay in the pocket, and come forward. That tactic of just winging bombs could work against Kevin Holland because he leaves so many openings in his game. You know, if he tries to karate chop Jacare, it's like, good luck, you got bad news coming. But Jacare's cardio's got to get him the first 2 rounds. And after that, it's like, just survive, do what you got to do. But I'm going to go with the dog play here and say that Jacare saves his job.
Right on. Guru, who you taking?
Yeah, I'm with Cody on this one. I'm going with, the old man. I'm going to go with Jacare to get it done, man. I just feel like you said, it's a bad matchup for Kevin Holland. And Kevin Holland's been taken down by guys that aren't Jacare, man, that are slow too. Like, it's not like I see some people saying like, Jacare might be too slow to get takedowns, but I mean, GM3 took down Kevin Holland like seven or 8 times. So, I mean, I just feel like Holland doesn't really do well with forward pressure either. You see him throwing all these kicks, which, if you just close the distance, you could jam the kicks, throw the leg kicks to, slow down the movement too. And I feel like in the pocket, Jacare is going to be able to compete with Holland. I mean, Holland is kind of sloppy with his boxing on the inside. He has good like straights, but when you get in the pocket, he definitely doesn't have the best defense either to me. But I just feel like Jacare is going to be the way more physical guy. I know Cody said that he thinks Holland is big for the weight class, but I actually feel like Holland could go to 170, man. I think he could make that weight pretty easily. So I think Jacare is going to be way more physical because he just fought at 205. He was able to – I mean, the fight was really bad with Blachowicz, but it was 5 rounds. He didn't get finished in all 5 rounds, and he was able to dictate, how the fight went. He held him against the cage, even though he didn't do anything with it. He still was able to, slow down the pace, make it his style of fight, and survive for the whole fight. I don't think Holland has the physicality or the takedown defense that, a guy like Jan Blachowicz has. So I do feel like if he gets in those positions, he probably will be able to hit the body locks. And I actually do think Jacare could get a submission. I mean, we've seen Brendan Allen submit Kevin Holland with the rear naked choke. We saw Rafael Lovato Jr. do it as well. I mean, Lovato Jr. is a beast, but I feel like he could get a first-round submission. And if he doesn't, though, I do agree with Cody. I will be kind of sweating it down the stretch with his cardio, man, because I don't know if he's going to be able to keep up for the last 2 rounds. But I still think if he can hit takedowns early in the rounds, he should be able to last, stay on top. So I feel like Jacare will get it done.
There you go. Locke, who are you liking?
We're going old man here as well. I like me some Jacare here. So I'm not as high on Kevin Holland as most people seem to be. Like they think he's on this shooting star right now, that he's just headed for stardom. And maybe it's his personality. The guy has a big mouth, and he's 4-0 in 2020 already. I think I saw a stat out there that if he gets a victory this weekend, he'll join 2 other fighters to have 5 victories in 1 calendar year in the UFC, which is crazy, but Charlie Tavares, right? But in these other fights with Jacare, the fights are going to a decision. Like, you're still, I love that, Cody. By the way, with Jacare, in these fights that go to a decision, you still see him getting some scorecards in those later rounds. Like the Kelvin Gastelum fight, yeah, he looked like garbage in that 3rd round, but he was the one moving forward the entire time, throwing winging shots. Even on MMA decisions, if you guys go look at that, like, it's 50-50 down the middle in terms of who scored that 3rd round for who. I mean, it was a split decision, loss for him as well too. Even in the what was it fight, the Jack Hermanson fight, a couple judges give him that 5th round. Like, he's still going out there and getting solid work in those later rounds. I don't think his, like, physically and aesthetically, it looks horrible. The guy's huffing and puffing, but he's still managing to almost like Derek Lewis to a sense, where he's just throwing these blitzing strikes, moving forward, crashing forward, and kind of intimidating some of these guys. And I feel like he could get to Kevin Holland. I think he can close the distance with those big strikes, get this fight back to the floor, and get it back into his realm where he's way more comfortable. Now, the last image that I have in my head of Kevin Holland is Darren Stewart winging on him in the 3rd round, just talking all the crap in the world and telling Kevin to get up. Kevin just can't get up for the life of him. And that's Darren Stewart, who is a striker, not really known for his submission game. Maybe Maki Patola has something else to say about that, but he's not known for his submission game, not his grappling, nothing like that. So if Kevin Holland's struggling to get Darren Stewart off of him for at least a minute and a half to 2 minutes, he's struggling to get out of that position. Imagine what the hell Jacare is going to do. Even if he's gassed, I think he would still have a lot of success with that heavy top pressure that he has. So even though Jacare hasn't really been super successful with his takedowns as of late, I think he's like 1 of 18 in his last 19 takedown attempts. I think Kevin Holland is a guy that he can get down. Like Kevin Holland's not these other guys that are able to keep the fight on the feet. Holland's going to be, a little bit easier in my opinion to get down. So I like Jacare to win this fight. I think he can get the submission as well. Last time I saw the submission prop was plus 170. I think that's a solid spot as well. And last thing I'll say about this fight, everybody's on this whole Holland knockout train, and I don't really see it. Like, he's a good striker. He's not really a crazy power puncher. Yeah, he put down Joaquin Buckley a couple fights ago in the 3rd round, but like, he's not known to be this deadly one-punch knockout artist. And we've seen Jacare's durability hold up in his fights. The only knockout loss that he's had in the recent memory is Robert Whittaker. And don't tell me you guys are comparing Robert Whittaker to Kevin Holland at this point. There's absolutely no way. So I like Jacare to get this fight. I got him at plus 140. So that was like the opener. Got on that. Shout out to Paul from Dogger Pass podcast that actually brought it to my attention. I quickly did my tape and I got in on that. But even line, I don't mind Jacare still. Jacare is a slight favorite, maybe not as much. Maybe the value starts to go over to Kevin Holland a little bit, but I still think that Jacare gets this fight to the ground and pulls off a submission. So I like that plus 170 on the sub prop. And I like Jacare here.
Well, I tell you what, it's going to be a full consensus for the old man because I am also on Jacare, man. I felt like he should probably be the slight favorite here. I get it. Jacare is very old. He hasn't looked super impressive, but I mean, we're talking about going 5 hard rounds with the apparent heir to John Jones at 205, Jan Blachowicz. Like, come on, man. Like, Jacare has just been in there with the best of the best, and he's beat a lot of these guys. You know what I mean? Kevin Holland, I feel like, he's done well and he's looked all right, but I still see holes. I still see problems. I still see a guy that just goes in there and kind of does some stupid shit from time to time. You know what I mean? And I really do feel like, if this fight is going to be advantage Holland, it's going to need to stay on the feet. And even then, I feel like Jacare is no slouch. He's shown us plenty of times that he's got, striking a hang with some really good dudes. I'm going to take Jacare in this one. I think eventually he will take it to the mat. And we're talking about a guy that's getting finished by Brendan Allen. I mean, what are you going to do when it's Jacare on you? You know what I mean? So it's Jacare for me. Wish I could have been like my man Locke and got him at that healthy plus number, but I'm still going to take him even though he is now the slight favorite. So we are up to, another really interesting one. We got Mackenzie Dern going up against Virna Jandiroba. And I think is it Guru? Yeah, my man Locke says it's Guru. So let's go Guru.
Yeah, man, this is an interesting fight, for jiu-jitsu nerds for sure. It's like jiu-jitsu taking on, the old school type of jiu-jitsu because Mackenzie Dern, she's more known for, the leg locks, kind of a new school style jiu-jitsu. And Virna has that, old school methodical top pressure, keep the position. So it's going to be interesting. I do feel like on the feet that Dern is going to be the better striker. I mean, even though I don't think either of them are very good strikers. I mean, Jandiroba, I don't think that she's as athletic as Mackenzie. Like, I don't think she closes the distance or throws as hard of punches. So, I mean, I don't think Mackenzie's going to go out there and like put a striking clinic on her or anything, but I think if it's on the feet, I think Mackenzie will probably edge it out. And I don't know about Virna. I think Virna is really good with her jiu-jitsu for sure, but I've seen fights like where she fought at Mizuki Inoue and she was getting threatened with submissions. She was, getting hit with elbows from bottom. She couldn't pass the guard. Carla Esparza was able to, reverse her, take her down. Even though she has a different type of style, she was able to get out of bad positions against Virna and just kind of out-grapple her really over 3 rounds, win a grappling heavy fight. And I just see on the feet, like I said, I think Mackenzie will probably be able to win. And if it gets to the ground, I think Virna is the better wrestler, but I just see Mackenzie threatening off her back, potentially being able to sweep, get on top. And I don't know if she's just going to be able to submit a girl like Jandiroba. I mean, she's probably really solid with her submission defense, but I just think she'll be the better grappler as well, be the one that's threatening more, being more dangerous. So I'm gonna go with Mackenzie Dern, probably via decision in this one.
Cool. Locke, who you got?
Yeah, this one's a fun fight in terms of grappling. Now let's hope that it gets to the grappling realm, because if we get 15 minutes of these women trying to outstrike each other, it's going to get a little bit interesting. But hey, Brian Ortega went out there and outstruck TKZ over 25 minutes. You think Mackenzie Dern's going to bring that type of performance? Probably not. Probably not. But, she's working with Jason Perlo. She's trying to sharpen up the hands. She knows that's the weakest part of her game. So it's definitely reassuring to see her go out there and get that type of work in. Now, we've seen fighters in the past try to make that change real quick. Again, just like last night, the only name that really comes to my head right now is Malcolm Gordon going out there to train with Joseph Bazooka Valtellini. But it's definitely reassuring because she's still young. She can still absorb that information. She can still absorb that training and come out and look pretty good on the feet if that's where it comes down to. But if this fight does hit the ground, I just feel like Mackenzie Dern is just a notch better than Virna Jandiroba there. Like we saw Carla Esparza having success, and obviously she has a little bit more of a wrestling approach compared to just straight jiu-jitsu. But I still think that the time that Dern has spent on the mat since she was a kid, like her dad is a high-level jiu-jitsu player himself too. So to just have that amount of experience and just to continuously go in there and just like twist women up into pretzels and stuff, I think she's a solid spot. And I'm still high on her. I think that she has a high ceiling in this MMA game. She just has to continue to round it out. Now, this is a good step up for her. Virna Jandiroba has been around for a while. She was the Invicta champion. She has some good wins on her record too. She only has one loss, which is that Carla Esparza loss, right? So that's not too, you can't be too mad at that. But I think I hope that turns out to be a grappling match. We see them hit the ground, go for submissions. I think both of them are going to almost nullify each other when it comes to actually pulling off the successful submission. So I see the spot that I'm most confident in would be the over 2.5, or even if fight goes to decision at -125. I think that's a solid spot. I think we'll see these girls kind of nullify each other, with Dern always just getting that slight advantage in these positions and just ending up on top, landing some good shots from on top too. But yeah, I like Dern here. I think she takes home the decision. But this will be a great one for her in terms of experience and a learning lesson to have a high level opponent like Virna Jandiroba, across the cage from her. So once again, I'll go with Dern to win this fight via decision.
Cody Saftik, who do you got?
Yeah, it's an interesting spot. I was kind of leaning towards dog or pass, if anything, just because I either don't want a whole lot of action on this one, or if anything, I could have seen a little bit of merit to Virna Jandiroba. This is a card that features Tecia Torres with 0 career knockout victories. Renato and Moicano, I know you wouldn't even expect that one, 0 career knockout victories. And then you get Mackenzie Dern and Virna Jandiroba, who both don't have any career knockout victories. This one's got the over written all over just because it's going to shake out to a grappling match. And if it's going to be a grappling match, then you know what? It is kind of hard to pick against Mackenzie Dern, being that she's just such a good grappler. The problem that I have, and we see this time and time again with these high-level jiu-jitsu practitioners as well, is that like they're comfortable fighting off their back, right? And yes, she's throwing up submission attempts, but like are the judges comprehending that? Who are the judges? Are they former boxing judges like the whole debacle was last week? Are they bad judges? Like, fighting off your back is one thing, but if you're giving up the takedowns, and I mean, again, it's not going to be a striking battle. If it is, I do agree. Dern's got better striking. She's improved her striking. You see it in all of those fights. You see her clip Amanda Bobby Cooper with the right hand. Like, you do see that it's a work in progress, but at the same time, she's still real choppy. But one thing about Mackenzie Dern is she doesn't seem all that physical standing. You see like the Hannah Cyphers fight, for example, where it's just like out-muscled heavily on the feet, but she's a guard puller. She just flops to her back and hopes that you follow her down. Ronda Marcos, for whatever reason, topples her over and then just, we'll get to the ground with her. It's like, no, bad idea. Whereas if Vern goes to the ground with her and ends up on top, probably way better off than some of these other guys, or sorry, girls, that these other opponents of Mackenzie Dern in the past. So it's a pass-worthy fight. I think it goes the over. I think it's mostly just a grappling heavy match. I think there is merit to Dern. But with anything Mackenzie Dern, they try to sell you a bad price tag on it. And this one kind of fits that same mold. It opened up originally, it was, I don't know, I guess it opened at 156. It went to -200. Now it's back at -175. So a lot of it is just like, she's so good at jiu-jitsu. She's so good at jiu-jitsu. But they're both black belts. They're both good at jiu-jitsu. They've both competed against, good level of competition. If it ends up just being a grappling match, like, I don't necessarily think either one submits each other. I don't think either one's going to knock each other out. So you're going to get a grappling match that ends up in a decision. Would you want a -175? Would you minus a -200? Who's going to be on her back? Who's going to be trying to pull guard? Like, not necessarily. So either pass or dog or pass. That's the way I would be leaning towards this one.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, Cody, I see it exactly how you're saying it. I'm taking Virna Jandiroba in this one. I think this fight plays out far closer to 50-50 than the implied odds. You're getting a pretty good plus money number on Virna. I think sitting around that plus 160. Cody, you just talked about it. These jiu-jitsu practitioners, a lot of them, they have a propensity to spend too much time on their back. And I feel like, Virna, you watch the tape, she's got an incredible takedown. I expect her to hit it multiple times in this fight. I think she's just going to be able to maintain top position long enough that this is going to go to the judges' scorecards, which I agree. I do think it's going to go the distance. And I think it's going to play out where the judges are going to go, you know what? I'm going to give it to the one who spent the majority of the time on top, which I expect to be Virna Jandiroba. Give me Virna Jandiroba at that big plus money. I honestly like the spot quite a bit. Like I said, I think it's a 50-50 fight. Got to take the dog just out of merit. So we're already up to the co-main event, and my goodness, is this one hell of a co-main event. We got Tony Ferguson going up against Charles Oliveira. Lock of the night. Can you get us going?
Yeah, easily my favorite fight on the card, and easily my favorite play on the card too. I love Tony Ferguson in the spot. I absolutely love him here. So the one narrative going into this fight is obviously going to be what he looked like last time around against Justin Gaethje, getting beaten and battered for close to the full 5 rounds, gets finished late in that fight, but never really goes down. Like even when the fight was finished, he got finished on the feet. I mean, the guy's durability is just crazy to take that amount of punishment. And I'm sure most of you guys have seen that video where they have just the audio of the punches landing. Probably one of the craziest videos I've ever seen. Just insane. I would pay $1 million to be in that room just to watch a fight like that. But Tony Ferguson, the one thing we know about him, the guy loves to come forward. The guy loves to throw elbows. The guy's not the most technical when it comes to the striking realm, but he gets the job done. He kind of Brandon Royvals it. And that's why I call Brandon Royval mini Tony Ferguson. The guy has really no technical capabilities when it comes to the striking realm, but is still able to get in his opponent's faces and mess them up and really create chaos. And the king of chaos here is Tony Ferguson. And the one knock that's been on Charles his entire UFC career is his confidence. And you want to talk about a confidence breaker? You're talking about Tony Ferguson. And I think that's what's going to happen here. People might think I'm being a little bit too harsh here on Charles, but I truly think that Charles only has about 3 minutes. If he's not able to get it done within 3 minutes, I think Ferguson is going to have done enough to really have broken Charles, to really get Charles off of his game, not really get his Muay Thai going, which looked pretty good against Kevin Lee last time around. Let's give him some props there. But that run that he's on right now, whatever it is, 8-fight winning streak, 7-fight winning streak, let's be honest about the level of competition there. The Kevin Lee was the best one there. And now let's be honest as well. If Kevin Lee had a slightly better gas tank, would he have shot that lazy takedown in that 3rd round? And would Charles Oliveira have gotten that submission? Probably not. Even in that 2nd round, when Kevin Lee was on top of him, you see Charles already, sucking wind a little bit, looking a little bit demoralized. It wasn't really throwing up submissions as actively as he was in that 1st round. But it was just Kevin Lee's horrible gas tank coming back and biting him in the butt every single time. RDA did it. You know what I mean? Charles Oliveira did it. So even though Kevin Lee is his biggest win to date, it still has an asterisk on it because Tony Ferguson, we know that guy's cardio never goes away. He's going to be there from minute 1 to minute 15. And I truly believe that he's going to go out there and finish Charles Oliveira probably in the 2nd round. The pace, the pressure, it's going to be too much. Now, the big question obviously is going to be, how did that beating take a toll on his career? But if it's any other fighter than Tony Ferguson, I would be a little bit concerned. But we're talking about Tony Ferguson. This guy, you're not going to shake this guy. This guy will come back, look just as good as he did last time. And I think he's going to get it done here against Charles Oliveira. So I love that minus 165 that he's currently at. I'm still surprised he's better than minus 200, but I think that's people putting a lot of stock into that Justin Gaethje fight. If Justin Gaethje went in there against Charles Oliveira, you don't think Charles Oliveira would get boxed around for 5 rounds, probably even get finished before that too? Tony Ferguson put up a hell of a fight there. He got blown out there, but he still put up a hell of a fight. And now here he is against Charles Oliveira, who the main thing, the confidence, is on the brink at all times. If it's not going his way, he's going to break. Tony Ferguson's going to break this guy, finish him in the 2nd round. So I got T-Ferg inside the distance here.
Cody Saftik, how do you feel about this one?
Yeah, I got Tony Ferguson as well. I mean, as far as question marks go, we're talking about, did he take too much damage that last time out? And he's 36 years old, and he ran across a freeway with a newborn baby in his arms, and all these different questions, the knee injuries and just all these different spots. So yeah, those are obviously going to be question marks. But yeah, I agree. I just think he's got the style and very similar. So Gavin Tucker versus Billy Q is just like the super poor man's version of this. Like, I think Charles Oliveira is going to be a little bit sharper than Tony Ferguson. He leaves a lot of openings. Even though he's a good striker, he takes a lot of damage against anybody. I mean, the Lando Venadas of the world, the absolute shot to bits, washed out versions of Anthony Pettis's of the world. He just kind of goes out there and gets clipped a lot, and he has taken a lot of damage. So Charles has been working a lot on the striking. I can see him being a little sharper, a little more technical. But just like Billy Q, you're getting beat to the punch. You're taking a little bit of damage. You just got to persevere and keep coming forward and break this guy. And Tony Ferguson is just a master at that. He does have that pressure. He's able to break guys. Justin Gaethje is, he's an unmovable object. So he ran head first into him, and it didn't exactly work out. But with Charles Oliveira, like if you get into a gut check moment, we just seen time and time again, he's on a 7-fight winning streak. But all of his losses have been the same thing. It's like they kind of got into some deeper waters. If you want to dig into it a little bit deeper, though, I kind of found this one interesting. He's taking this fight on short notice, right? Which is why Tony was really big on like, he better show up on weight because I don't want to know excuses. And it's like, okay, Charles on short notice. Is that good for him? Because he's struggled at weight, even at 55. He's always struggled with his weight cuts, and he probably doesn't have a great game plan together. And the longer this fight goes, Tony keeps putting that pressure on him, and he's always looked for ways out in the past. Like, is this a good idea for him to take fights on short notice? So his last pro loss against Paul Felder, he actually took that fight on short notice, right? He was actually replacing Ally Quinta. Comes in, gives it hell for a round, and then as soon as it doesn't go his way, he's like, no mas. The loss right prior to that against Ricardo Lamas was scheduled to fight BJ Penn. The fight got canceled, so the UFC just scrambled and put the fight together on 3 weeks' notice or something. So Charles Oliveira is technically, again, Lamas had a full camp. Charles comes in, and the same thing, like he gives it a go in the early portion of it, but just like you can break this guy. So him coming in against Tony, like it's got to be advantage Tony. Tony just got to go in there. It seems like he's got a chip on his shoulder, especially coming off the Gaethje loss, that he's just got to go out there and put it on Charles. And if he's capable of doing that, then I can see him winning the fight. I can see him winning inside the distance. I don't know that I would say he's my lock of the week, just because again, there's some untrustworthiness there. And there's this thing about Charles where it's like he's a natural born killer. Like the guy is one of the most entertaining. There's a reason why he's got the submission record, right? Most submission wins in the UFC. Like there's a reason for that. He's just absolutely dynamite. He can finish you at any step. You can't make a mistake. But with Tony, it's like, are you going to knock him out? Like, I don't know. We've seen what it took to do that. Like, are you going to submit him? Like, I don't know. Well, what is it going to take to do that? Like, that hasn't happened in a very, very, very long time. But I made this joke yesterday, but I'll make it again here. Tony better not have Eddie Bravo as his chief corner, man, because I don't want to hear no Imanari roll bullshit, man. Like, get to your meat and potatoes, get all up in it, break this guy who's on short notice and put the pressure on him. If he does that, Tony gets the win for that reason. I'll pick him.
Whew, Eddie Bravo. Honestly, though, it's a very valid point. Guru, who are you taking in this one?
Yeah, man, I like a lot of what they had to say. And I'll just say something, that Tony said this week where he said, Charles, he might have better striking than me. He might even have better wrestling than me, but he has to respect that, I'm going to come after him. And that's what's going to happen, man. I just feel like it's going to be Tony mauling this guy. And we've seen time and time again, like in that fight with Paul Felder that you guys just talked about, Charles tapped out to elbows in that fight. He tapped out to strikes where I could never see Tony doing something like that, man. Or like with this fight with Cub Swanson. We talked about Cub Swanson earlier today. That was kind of a weird finish with versus Charles Oliveira. Or even versus Max Holloway where, it was an injury, but then they couldn't find any injury after the fight. And
yeah.
I just feel like it's just Tony is going to be coming forward. And like they said, he's going to have a few minutes, 2 or 3 minutes where he could maybe land that cross on Tony, hurt Tony. And we've all seen Tony when he's hurt, he does kind of all that, that weird stuff where he's rolling around on the ground where maybe Charles could jump on his back and lock it in real quick. I mean, who knows? But, I feel like Tony, as long as that doesn't happen early on in the fight, he's just going to start digging to Charles' body with that front kick, getting in the pocket, backing him to the fence, because we see in Charles's win streak too against these lower level guys. He has all the confidence in the world, man. He's walking him down. He's coming forward. He's real open with his stance. He's kind of like taking shots and returning, and he's super confident. Against Tony, man, I think after he lands a few clean shots and Tony's still there and Tony's in his face, elbowing him, throwing to the body, I think he's going to start to kind of, go back to his old ways a little bit. And if Tony makes it a bloody fight too, we could see Charles kind of look for the way out pretty quickly. So I just think Tony is going to come in here. I thought he looked good at the weigh-ins, and I feel like he's one of these guys where his mental space and like his whole life is almost based around like how good of a fighter he is in his head. So I think it's going to be like hell for him to lose 2 in a row. I think he's going to come out here like, you know, a man on fire. So yeah. And the one thing Cody was saying too about the short notice, another thing that I thought was interesting about that is when he pulled out of his fight with Benil Dariush, she was saying that he had a knee injury and he wasn't going to fight till 2021. So now he's taking this fight short notice against Tony. I don't know if maybe his recovery was better than he thought, or he just thinks this is a huge fight where maybe he can catch a guy on the decline and, you know, get right into the title fight. So he could still be dealing with an injury too. So I just feel like Tony is, you know, the side here.
Go ahead, Locke.
Let me hop in one sec. Another side here. The under 2.5 is a solid spot too, in my opinion. If Charles gets it done, he's probably going to get it done early. And if Ferguson gets it done, he's probably going to get it done there too. A statistic for you guys, 23 out of 26 of Charles Oliveira fights have ended under 2.5 rounds. So there's that as well. And lastly, one thing that I do want to say is a lot of people are saying that Tony Ferguson seems a little extra crazy this week.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been following the sport? The guy's been crazy forever.
Yeah.
Let's drop that narrative that Gaethje fight made him a little more crazy. He's always crazy. Let's stop with that stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I want to throw something in too real quick because shout out to Chris Lowe in the comment section. Remember that uppercut that Ferguson lands on Gaethje, right? That on Charles Oliveira topples Charles Oliveira over. And in the same breath, how many minutes does Charles Oliveira last in that fight with Gaethje, taking that same beating that Tony does, right? Tony deals with almost 5 full rounds of that, where it's like, oh my God, dude. Charles would have taken about 2.5 minutes. You know what? That's a lie. He might have gotten in like minute and a half into the second round, but like they're built different, you know. And if this comes down to a dog fight, Tony's been a dog his entire life.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, you guys, Locke, I let you jump in, and dang it, you stole my best point, man. Yeah, man, I think I really do. I think the play here is the under. Both guys, I think, are really going to get after it. You know, Tony, for whatever reason, I feel like, you know, first off, it was very surprising for me to lose to Justin Gaethje. That really opened my eyes, and you know, you guys, I think we really have seen the best Tony Ferguson. You know, he's about to be 37 years old. Do I think he's good enough to beat Charles Oliveira? Oh, absolutely. Do I think he's still one of the best lightweights in the world? Definitely. But I really do feel like we're seeing Tony hitting that plateau, if not beginning to decline. And when I look at Charles Oliveira, man, I see a guy, now don't get me wrong, he has quit. And he hasn't just quit once. It's been multiple times. But, you know, that is years behind us. And it's really been every fight at 145 outside of the Paul Felder fight. I just feel like Do Bronx I call him Do Bronx 2.0. This is a guy that has always been so deadly. I mean, like we touched on already, the submission leader in the UFC history, but a guy whose striking has really evolved, gotten so much better. And, you know, a guy that I feel like is coming into his prime. I feel like we're seeing the absolute peak Do Bronx right now going up against, you know, that Tony that I just don't know if we're ever going to see that same guy, unfortunately. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pick Do Bronx to win this fight. But like I said, I really think the spot you want, it's going to be that under, like my man Lock of the Night talked about. So we've done it again, boys. It's the main event of the evening. The God of War, Deiveson Figueiredo, going up against the assassin baby, Brandon Moreno. Let's see here. Is it Guru kicking us off here? Cody Safdie. Cody.
This is one of the reasons why I love doing the Friday show with you guys, is that you get to see the weigh-ins, you get to take as much information. Sometimes you miss a few lines here and there, but at least you try to gather as much information as you can prior to actually seeing the fight itself. But Deiveson Figueiredo, honestly, he's a big 125er, and how's this guy going to continuously make weight, fight between fight, and is he going to struggle in these later rounds if you can push a tempo on him? But like him weighing in so early and him looking dazed, it's like this guy was in really good shape for the Perez fight, obviously. He's supposed to fight Cody Garbrandt. Biggest payday of his life. Great spot. This is going to put him on the map. That fight doesn't happen, but he's still in really good shape. Takes Perez and mauls Perez. Now, still in really good shape. He gets Brandon Moreno. Again, the fact that he made weight, the fact that he looks solid. I'm a parlay guy. I mean, I make all types of bets, but as far as like people, what they want to see on Twitter is that I'll send out some parlays. And as I mentioned to Paul earlier in the week, Figueiredo is one of those guys that you could put him on all these parlays, knowing that at the end of the night, you could take that hedge out on Brandon Moreno. He's a big enough underdog that you could hedge out, right? But with Figueiredo, it's like he's got the power. He's one of the best strikers in the division. If he hits you, he's going to knock you out. The grappling looks pretty solid. He's obviously got a good guillotine choke amongst other things, but it's just like that big physicality. As far as taking him down, yeah, he's been taken down, but he's very strong. He's very physical. Gas Tank, yeah, we talk about Gas Tank. He's had looked tired in some of his other fights. When he's icing fools in the first or second round, like Joseph Benavidez and Alex Perez, you don't get to see it. But, like, there are holes to this guy's game. Like, you can stretch him. You can make him work. He does have relatively low output. Mind you, when you have that much power, you just got to land a few punches. And in his case, he can land those punches. Moreno's a guy that is there to get hit. It always seems like he's bloody in the lip. I don't know what it is. Like, all of his fights, he could win it easy. He always just seems like he gets tagged and he wears some of that damage. Against Figueiredo, it's a bad spot. You would really, if you were banking on Moreno, and I thought he was a live underdog, because I thought, you know what, push the pace. This kid's going to come in good shape. It's obviously a career highlight moment for him. He can win a UFC title and achieve his dream of being the first Mexican-born UFC champion. Like, there's all this shit on the line for him. He used to train at altitude in Denver, moved his camp over to Mexico City, training at altitude again. Seemingly in a good spot. Looked good his last time out, despite the fact that it was a kind of an early end to the night, but took no real damage. Like, there's a lot to like there. But the narrative of Brandon Moreno winning, how does he win? He's got to win the scrambles. He's got to win the wrestling exchanges. He needs to take this guy down, wear on him. But seeing Figueiredo in such good shape, like, I'm starting to backtrack myself into thinking, you know what? What if he doesn't wear down? What if you don't take him down, which is entirely possible? What if you do take him down and he gets back up? You're going to keep taking him down? Like, can Moreno just chain wrestle him for 25 minutes? Probably not. Can Moreno strike with him for 25 minutes? Like, probably not. But the key for Moreno is that he's never been finished, right? He got subbed one time in The Ultimate Fighter way back when he was just a kid. Still to this day, really, he's just a kid. He's always getting better. He's always making improvements. He always shows a better version of himself. He's never been knocked out professionally. He's never been submitted professionally. I like the over 1.5 rounds. If, back class eventually comes through for Figueiredo when he catches his kid, or he busts him up, or he gets him in trouble, and you really see a skill discrepancy in there, I would expect it to happen in the latter half of the second round into the third round. But that 1.5 I thought was an okay enough price tag. I think it was like minus 170. And ultimately, I guess I would still consider Brandon Moreno a live dog, and I still think he can win this fight. But with Figueiredo, it's like, seeing him in good shape, seeing the skill set, like, what does he do particularly wrong? Is it just that he fades? Do we all believe he fades? Is that a real thing? God, I don't know. So I think the pick is going to be, for me personally, Figueiredo. I got the over 1.5, I think, is the best play in this fight personally. And I know some people are saying Figueiredo inside the distance or Figueiredo by knockout. Some people are fishing that submission prop again. Like, I'm thinking it's getting overs. Certainly the over 1.5. That's the one I feel the most comfortable with. Maybe 2.5. Maybe not as comfortable with that. But Figueiredo over 1.5. That's how I'm leaning with this main event.
I like it. Guru, who you got?
Yeah, this is a good fight to me. I mean, you got to give credit right away to both these guys turning around 3 weeks, giving us a main event, man. I think this is the fastest turnaround for a champion to defend his belt in UFC history. So, shout out to Deiveson for that. But, I mean, I feel like when I first looked at this matchup on paper, I did think that Moreno potentially had like a good chance to win. But once I just started looking more into it, watching a few fights, I actually think that Deiveson should win pretty handily here, because Moreno, I mean, I've noticed like in fights recently, he's actually become more of like not a counter striker, but he doesn't go first as much as he used to. Because if you watch his fight like with Pantoja and Sergio Pettis, he's opening up with like a lot of like real sloppy attacks going first, and they're just pot shotting him, like jabbing him up, landing straights, and he's gotten better at setting up his attacks, but he's still like real hittable. He's still willing to sit in the pocket and trade with people, and I just feel like that right crossman from Deiveson is just going to land clean. And I just don't know if he's going to be able to take that, man. I haven't seen anyone that Deiveson lands that on be able to eat it and, keep going. So I just feel like I do think maybe the over 1.5 is probably going to hit as well, because like I said, I do think Moreno early on, he's going to like pressure, I think, and try to throw leg kicks, but I don't think he's going to open up like a lot. I don't think he's going to really try to like trade with him or anything like that. Or I don't even know if he'll even try to hit takedowns, because I just don't know. I feel like he's going to try to like slow play it early on and then try to get into the fight, try to see if Deiveson slows down a little bit. But I don't think he's going to slow down. I feel like he looked good at the weigh-ins today. I watched it. He went 3 rounds pretty hard with Pantoja. He broke him in that third round. He won the third round against Jussier Formiga in their fight pretty easily. So I feel like it's maybe a little bit of a misconception with the cardio. So I did feel like he was getting tired against Benavidez, but he missed weight for that fight. So it could have been something else. He looks like he's gotten that under control. So I think Figueiredo probably will win inside the distance, but I think it will be later on, maybe like third, fourth, fifth round.
I like it. Lock of the night. Take us home, my man.
Yeah, so I was one of the poor souls that went out there and tried to fade Figgy last time around by taking Alex Perez at that plus 255 line. I truly thought it was going to be the wrestling that kind of made the difference there with Perez being able to get the fight to the ground. And yeah, he went for a takedown, but he just forgot to protect his neck. And we see Figgy take that neck home with him. And now I'm seeing a huge amount of narrative out there that people are saying that if you backed Alex Moreno, you should, or Alex Perez, you should go out there and back Brandon Moreno. I don't get it though, because what I was leaning on Perez for was the takedowns, and he has a pretty good wrestling background. You can't say the same about Brandon Moreno here. I mean, I think it's completely different. What Moreno does bring to the table, though, is solid, decent striking or improved striking from what we've seen in the past. But he is hittable, and both of these guys brought it up. That's a big red flag for me. I mean, like he's getting touched up a little bit by Brandon Royval at the beginning of their fight, and again, like we touched on with Royval earlier. Not really the best technical striker, but creates chaos, which allows him to open up his opportunities to snatch victory. But with Deiveson, that guy probably just needs one or two. And, I saw somebody in the comment section calling him the flyweight Francis. The statistics back it up. I saw somebody drop it. He has like a crazy knockdown percentage. It's insane. Maybe most of it is from that Joseph Benavidez fight because poor Joseph Benavidez got sent to hell and back in that fight. But I think Deiveson is the real deal at this point, man. My days of fading him are long gone. My concern here though is if he doesn't land that bomb and this fight does get stretched out, and I'm not trying to harp on the cardio here, one thing you can say about Moreno is he has solid output, he has solid volume. If this fight does somehow reach it to the judges' scorecards, I wouldn't be shocked to see them kind of score Moreno's volume over Deiveson's power punches. But then again, if Deiveson rocks him or drops him in those rounds and starts banking rounds that way, that's another way that you can go about this fight. But personally, I'm staying away from it. I do like Deiveson. I do think he gets it done. I do think he touches the chin of Moreno. I think we'll see Moreno get finished for the first time officially. We had the loss to Pantoja on the Ultimate Fighter. But I like Figgy, man. Yeah, I like Figgy here. But not the most confident. Minus 300, it's a decent... It's a crazy price tag. The end of distance is probably what you want to look for. I do think it's going to happen much later than the Perez one. The Perez one was just, poor Perez, just leaving his neck out there. Not the best thing to do, especially after you see it every time on tape. Anytime somebody tries to take Figgy down, he is totally cool with, jumping guillotine. He is totally fine with that. And he's pretty damn near close to like getting it on some of these guys. Ask Tim Elliott. You know what I mean? That was a very bad guillotine that he latched on him. And then Alex Perez falls victim to that too. So I like Deiveson here. I do think he touches up Moreno. I don't like the striking defense from Moreno. That's kind of the big red flag for me here. And if Figueiredo just needs one, I'm going to count on it that he lands one of those. So I'm going with Figueiredo, probably second or third round here.
Yeah, I'm with you guys, man. I'm all in on the God of War. I'm going to be riding this train until it derails, I think. I just don't see anybody being able to deal with this guy's touch of death. He gets in there eventually. I mean, you're going to have to survive 25 minutes without this guy landing that shot, and I just don't see anybody being able to do it really at this point. I'm sure somebody will come along. Figueiredo's 32, almost 33. There doesn't have a tremendous amount of time when we look at, when these guys age out at the flyweight division. But for my money, man, the God of War, I don't know who's going to step up and take him out. I honestly hope he cleans out the flyweight division. We maybe start seeing him take on some bantamweights. I'm all in on him. He's going to be a parlay piece for me, absolutely. Brandon Moreno, what's his path to victory? I guess maybe he can avoid that danger, avoid that guillotine, which I do think is probably the nastiest guillotine in the game at this point. Maybe Bronx is a little more dangerous, but both guys, my goodness, you give them one chance, they're snatching that thing up. I think you guys are on something. I do like the over 1.5. I don't think this fight's going to play out quite as quick as our last one, but I do think if Deiveson wins, it will be inside the distance. And Locke, thank you for bringing it up. I see a lot of people talking about Moreno's never been finished. You're right. Officially, he's never been finished, but Ultimate Fighter, Pantoja did get him out of there. If Pantoja can do it, I'm telling you guys, Figueiredo can do it too. So that is it. That is the wrap we've done at UFC 256 in a nutshell. I'm going to throw it around the horn before we get out of here. Guru, tell them where to find you.
Yeah, man. Thanks again for coming through, watching a show on Friday. We're going to be back next Friday. It's going to be the last show of the year, so definitely come through, see that one. It should be some fun. And you could find me at Prediction MMA on Twitter if you want to hit me up, talk fights. And then if you want to see my full breakdowns of other promotions as well, sometimes you can check out MMA Prediction Guru on YouTube and subscribe over there too. So thanks, guys, for sure.
Absolutely. Lock of the night. Tell them.
Yeah, you can find me at MMA LOTN on Twitter, MMA LOTN on YouTube. I usually drop my podcast on Mondays to go over the full card, give you guys an early look at the card coming up. And yeah, every Friday right here with these beautiful faces surrounding me. I can't wait to keep doing this with you guys. It kind of breaks my heart a little bit that next week's the last one for about a 3-week hiatus. But we'll make the most of it next week and send everybody home, or at least to Christmas with some extra money in their pockets, hopefully.
Wouldn't that be the gift that keeps on giving? Cody Saftik, tell them where you're at.
Yeah, last week was really good, so hopefully we can make this one another good one and move into that last event of the year, and then maybe we'll try to clear with the bosses, but I might have myself a holiday beer on the last show of 2020 because what a crazy year it's been. Yeah, fun card. Thanks to the over 600 people that took time out of their night to join us tonight, and hopefully we could be of a service to you. You guys know where to catch me, same places as usual. And if you need anything at all, feel free to hit me up. I've got some messages I need to get back on. I've been a little slow to it, but this is my time, baby. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, focus on the game. So good luck to everybody. And again, thanks for coming out tonight.
Absolutely. And you know what? The biggest thank you of all to our viewers, because who would we be without you guys? And another big thank you to OddsHQ and odds.com. If you're not subscribed, what are you doing? I'm Bleed, your host. I have a channel here on YouTube, Just Bleed MMA. Be sure to check it out, subscribe, all that stuff. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and who knows what else. But yeah, man, phenomenal card. I can't wait to do it. Thank you guys for watching. Best of luck to everybody. Let's make some money. Let's head into 2021 with the strength. We're out of here. Thank you guys for watching.